Shed some light on when this injury actually occurred. And do you have any idea how serious is this? Wednesday's game at the Mystics will be the first game she's ever missed, college or pro here. Clark leads the W in assists this season, and the Fever, they now face a critical stretch without their star.
Well, Malika, what we've been told so far by the team is that this is actually an injury that was separate from the quad tightness issue, as Caitlin Clark described it earlier in the preseason, that she dealt with before.
Caitlin Clark was the single reason bettors favored Indiana. Then she got injured. How did sportsbooks like Fanatics, Caesars, and DraftKings lose massive action in just 1 week? And why are bettors suddenly ignoring the Fever? You won't believe how fast everything changed. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now back to the video.
Now, if you guys remember and you saw my vlog, I actually went to that preseason opener game and I almost didn't make it just because my flight got canceled. But as my flight was getting canceled, I also got the news that Caitlin Clark would be sitting out. But it seems like this is something in her left quad and her left leg, that she has been dealing with something. Now, the severity of this quad strain, we have yet to find out if it's grade 1, if it's grade 2. And this was the first time that we had heard anything about an injury. And some people were even speculating that maybe she just wasn't playing because they wanted to rest her and make sure that she was good to go for the regular season.
Imagine this. Just a few weeks ago, Caitlin Clark had sportsbooks completely buzzing. Every time the Fever played, bettors swarmed to place bets, and the odds tilted heavily in their favor. Why? One name kept showing up. Caitlin Clark. She wasn't just a rookie stepping into the WNBA. She was a magnet dragging the eyes of odds makers and pulling in thousands of wagers. DraftKings reported that over 90% of bets in the first 3 Fever games leaned toward Indiana. That kind of dominance doesn't happen by chance. It's a reflection of Clark's gravity as a player and a cultural phenomenon.
And the rest of the preseason, even though she was limited at some points during practice, she obviously played during the regular season, these last 4 games, including 38 minutes the other day against the New York Liberty when she played and closed out the game. So it's a little bit of interesting situation given that it was the same leg, but the team is saying it is actually a new injury. We did see that after she missed that first preseason contest with that quad issue, she returned and played. But for the Fever, one thing to keep in mind is that this is a sort of situation where the next 2 weeks, luckily for them, the schedule is a little bit more, I want to say, on the easier side, right? They played the Mystics, who are a team that won 2 of their last 5 games.
But then came the injury. Clark went down with a quad strain, and almost immediately the betting landscape took a nosedive. At Caesars, the handle, the total amount wagered on Fever games dropped by 50% overnight. That's not just a dip in interest, that's a wipeout. Sportsbooks went from scrambling to adjust odds quickly enough to staring at weak betting slips. Kevin Hennessy at Fanatics Sportsbook noted that Clark was their top prop bet selection before her injury, whether it was points, assists, or periods of play. And now, those bets can barely draw a second glance. The numbers just get harsher from there. BetMGM revealed that 37% fewer bets were placed on the Fever after the injury. Even more shocking, the handle fell by 23.5%, pushing the team out of the spotlight as a betting darling. That's not just a bad stretch, it's essentially a blackout in wagering action. Before Clark's injury, she wasn't just driving interest in the Fever, she was shaping the league's MVP race. Her odds to win MVP shifted dramatically, dropping from a near lock at minus 150 to a distant plus 250. That movement allowed players like Napheesa Collier to surge into contention. Clark's absence didn't just take the Fever down a notch, it forced everyone in the sports betting ecosystem to hit pause.
Now, Chloe says here that it's a new injury, and a lot of fans are not buying that at all. A lot of fans are saying she's had this injury the entire time and she's just been playing, and they're blaming the coach, they're blaming the organization, saying that you've been playing her. Like, there's a lot of tactics and things that teams can do if they know the extent of an injury. And so that's why I feel like the Indiana Fever are probably going to keep this so tight-lipped, and we're just going to have to speculate until she's back on the court. Why would you do that if you knew that she was dealing with an injury? And I also think that them saying a new injury, it could absolutely be a new injury, but it could also be caused by the old injury. There's so much that happens within your body.
Sportsbooks were scrambling to adjust. Bettors were left uncertain in Indiana. Well, the team felt the loss on every level. But what happens when you pull a star player out of the lineup? Let's see how those games without Clark completely flipped the script. You know what's crazier? It took less than a week for the Fever to go from a dominant betting favorite to an almost forgotten pick. Without Clark on the court, Sportsbooks didn't just see a drop, they witnessed a total shift in how bettors approach WNBA games. It's not just that the Fever were less competitive, they turned into a team people hesitated to bet on at all. Take Caesar Sportsbook for example. Before Clark's injury, fans were throwing money at the Fever's games. Then, in the 2 games she missed, the handle, basically the total money wagered, was slashed in half. That's a brutal drop, and it wasn't the only sign of hesitation. At BetMGM, the most popular Fever-related wagers practically evaporated overnight. Instead, the safest pick of the week actually involved betting against them. The Sun plus 12.5 over Indiana dominated the action on ESPN Bet. Big spreads like that suddenly felt like smarter plays than trusting the Fever to cover. Talk about a confidence shift.
Chicago Sky, the Connecticut Sun, who haven't won yet, so they are trying to hold down the fort for now while Caitlin Clark will be out. Things get a little bit tougher once we hit that 2-week mark, but
it wasn't just about Clark. Although her absence was obviously the catalyst, this exposed how much star power fuels betting trends. The momentum Clark brought to Indiana didn't just boost her team, it lifted the entire league's betting ecosystem. Fanatics Sportsbook reported that both the handle and total bets across the WNBA nosedived post-injury. The Fever's struggles were a microcosm of the bigger impact Clark's magnetic presence had on betting interest everywhere. Still, here's the wild part. While regular bets dried up, the Fever somehow stayed a dark horse favorite. BetMGM saw more wagers for Indiana to win the WNBA title than all other teams combined, even after Clark's injury. That shows an insane level of fan dedication, but it also highlights how much weight Clark's name alone carries, injured or not. Meanwhile, Clark's MVP odds tanked. Star players like Napheesa Collier surged ahead in the race, leaving Clark to rebuild her case when she returns. Sportsbooks and fans are clearly pivoting, but with this much riding on one player, what happens next? There's a lot more at stake and is going to shake things up everywhere. Caitlin Clark wasn't just a player for the Fever, she was their engine, the driving force behind betting action that stretched far beyond Indiana. Her injury changed everything overnight. Sportsbooks saw fewer bets, handles dropped, and even MVP futures took a sharp turn. Pre-injury, Clark was a clear favorite at minus 115. Afterward, her odds plummeted to plus 250, with Napheesa Collier taking the lead. It's a stark reminder of how much WNBA betting depends on star players like Clark. Now, with sportsbooks recalibrating and bettors waiting on her return, one thing's clear: the market's next move rests on her comeback.